Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to All for United. I hope you are all wonderfully good on this Tuesday evening. I hope you're all recovering from that hangover that was that diabolical transfer window and a very busy deadline day. Of course, all our business was done on deadline day. Well, 4 of our 5 signings were made on deadline day. We were quite busy. We ended up signing on deadline day. If somehow you've been living under a rock and you've missed it, United signed Edinson Cavani, Alex Telles, I've forgotten his name already, Facundo Pellistri, and Amad Diallo on deadline day. So today we're focusing on 2 of those signings. We're focusing on the latter 2, the youngsters in the group. And I've got 2 experts with me, a South American football expert in Dan Edwards. How are you doing, mate?
Hi, guys. Thanks for the invitation. Very happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you on. And of course, I've got Jerry, who lives in Toronto, but he's a big fan of Italian football, as you can tell by the surname.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Okay, let's get straight into it. I hope everyone's having a good evening in the comments. Jamie's already in with a little good evening. Good evening, Jamie. Hope you're doing well. We'll get into the names first of all. First of all, I'm going to go to Dan. How am I pronouncing his first name correctly? Pellistri.
Facundo. Like
Facundo.
Stava, the ex-Fulham guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Facundo Pellistri. Okay, and then we're going to go to Jerry because his name, the Diallo one's a bit confusing. Do we call him Amad Diallo Traore? Are we calling him Amad Traore? Are we calling him Amad Diallo? I don't know what his name is.
That's a good question. I would just go as like the preferred name, Amad Diallo. That would
we're going to stick
everything easy.
Yeah, we're going to stick with Diallo because it's a really confusing one with it. Obviously, they're both 18, aren't they? They're both very young. They're both very up and coming players. They're both very highly rated. Now, these are the kind of signings that I like United to be doing. The ones that are not the most obvious, the ones where maybe the scouting teams have to do a bit more work on, pull up more records. I'm going to go to Jerry first. What do you make of United signing a player like Amad Diallo? Is it a kind of signing that you would say is wise for United at this moment in time?
I'm actually surprised how much they spent for a player who's very young and is only 18 and only played 3 games in the in top flight Serie A. So there is a lot of potential for Diallo. He had a good season last year. I believe he had 20 points combined and I believe 11 goals and around 7 assists. And he's a versatile player who can play he's preferred on the right wing, but can play left wing, attacking midfielder, and gives Manchester United a lot of options. But what scares me about him is that his size, and you're really depending on, does he become more bulky? Does he become more physical? And the EPL is a very physical league. So a player of his stature, his size, could really fail to transition to the EPL, where the Serie A, his type of physicality works well because it's not more of a physical league. So I'm curious to see how that will work out. But overall, I'm surprised of how much Manchester United spent on a player that has very little experience in the top flight, and we don't know what he'll turn out to be.
Yeah, he seems to be like a really surprise package. I mean, everything that I'm hearing is he's going to be fantastic. There was even a quote, I believe, that said in training he's like Messi to watch with his ability. I mean, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration, obviously, but it is really interesting to hear. And on the flip side, we've got Pellistri, Dan, who comes from a club that obviously gave Real Madrid Federico Valverde. And you wrote a brilliant article on this, and I'm sure the link to that will be in the description or on Twitter somewhere. So if you haven't already, make sure to read it. But tell us about Pellistri. Tell us about the club he's from. Are they known for developing this kind of talent?
Yeah, basically Peñarol are one of the traditional 2 Uruguayan giants, with Nacional both based in Montevideo, as almost all the clubs in Uruguay are. And yeah, they've got a reputation of bringing some fantastic players through, as well as Valverde. In recent years, they've contributed a lot of players to the national team alongside Nacional. Guys like Nathan Hernandez, who's in Italy now. I saw him a lot in Boca, and loads and loads of players through the years. Forlan had a spell with them both as a player and a coach. So it's a team that prides himself on bringing these young players up and sending them off to Europe. If you look at Pellistri, he's been at the club He had been at the club, of course, now since he was 10 years old. He came up right through the ranks under 16s, 17s, 18s, made his debut at just 17 back in 2019, and throughout this, obviously very weird, very unique 2020 season, he's been a star for him, one of the few stars in what's been a fairly mixed year for Peñarol, both locally and in Libertadores, which is what they've been competing for in these last couple of weeks.
So, in terms of the style of players, then, so we've established where they're both coming from. We've established they're both very highly sought after players, because obviously Real Madrid, of course, were interested in Pellistri at one point. I think it was about a year ago. Diallo, of course, was on track to sign for Parma on loan before we suddenly came in and secured the move. Jerry, in terms of Diallo, what kind of a player is he, and is there anyone that we can compare him to directly, or is he just a new kind of player on his own?
Well, to compare him to, I'm not really sure what we can compare him to, but he is an adventurous type of player who is willing to take risk and has good footwork, good body movement. He'll take challenges 1 versus 1. He has a lot of confidence in himself at a young age. So this is a guy who isn't shy to take risks, take responsibility, and take his game to the next level. So last year he's good with both feet. That's a very big positive. So he can either play on his left foot, on his right foot, and the only thing is that, like I said earlier, his physicality, and he stands at 5 foot 8 inches tall. So he does need to bulk up. He needs to get bigger in order to become more physical. But on the bright side, he has shown the ability to either score or get assists, and that's something that can really help Manchester United in the near future, and something that they have lacked at times. And we saw this past Sunday where they don't get any scoring. So this is someone who can really become the future of the club. I don't know how well their academy is, how they develop players in Manchester, but in regards to Atalanta, that is something that is an encouraging sign for United fans, that a lot of their players that have come through their academy have really developed and flourished. Timothy Castagne, who was sold to in the EPL, I believe, to Leicester.
Yeah,
he's a phenomenal player, and one that I believe that Atalanta should never have sold. He's a great wing back, and I as a Lazio fan, I wish he had came to Lazio, because he can play on either side. He's very versatile, and so that there's an example where they have created a lot of good players and really have turned out to be worthwhile players. And even Gianluca Mancini, who went to Roma, he was another one who came through their academy and turned out to be a very good player, and they sold him. So I guess time will tell, but overall, I know the price is high, and a lot of people are going to criticize Manchester right now for spending that much on a player that you don't know what you're going to get, what can turn out. But in the long run, if it does pan out, this is a deal that Manchester might even make more money in the long term.
I mean, hearing some of the names you've listed right there, clearly they're known for producing these kind of players. And of course, United share a similar kind of history with the kind of players that we've developed. So clearly there's a lot of trust there. And I find it interesting that you said that you believe that he needs to bulk up a little bit more to be a bit more physical, because that's kind of the same kind of criticism some of us are giving Mason Greenwood in order to become a number 9. Maybe he needs to bulk up a little bit. So maybe those two can form some kind of partnership together, and maybe they could be part of a future front three, maybe. Over to Pellistri, Dan. Is there any kind of comparisons you could make with him? Or again, is it another case of he's his own kind of player and maybe he's the beginning of a new kind of player?
Yeah, I think there are definitely parallels you can make with what Jerry's told us about Diallo. What I'd say about Pellistri is he's a player that you don't really find that much in modern football, in that he is an out-and-out right winger. These kind of guys who just grab the ball and they want to take on their man, they want to get to the byline, beat their players, and just get forward at any cost, by any means necessary. And what he has to manage that is just fantastic feet, he's kind of got this very characteristic of South American players, this kind of close dribble where the ball, even when he's at full speed, just stays tied to his feet. And that makes it extremely difficult to take it off him. He's, especially in these last couple of games, Libertadores games I've watched for Peñarol, he's caused so much trouble for the opposition, even in a Peñarol team, which is not at its best at the moment. It's in a kind of transition where Forlan, who of course you'll know from his Manchester United days, he got sacked because results weren't really coming, and the new guy who's coming on the bench has been bringing into the team, as well as Pellistri, a couple of other kind of young 19, 20-year-olds from the academy, and it's been really exciting. And Pellistri has been central to that for the damage he can do down the wing and also drifting inside. He's very aware for a young player. Kind of seeing him, obviously I don't want to jinx anything because of what the guy I'm about to mention did, in the game. But there are kind of indications of a very young teenage Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know if you remember all the way back to 2002, 2003 when he started to burst on the scene for Sporting. He was kind of this lanky young winger who just grabbed the ball and he wanted the ball. He wanted to beat his man. He wanted to show his tricks, and Pellistri does show shades of that. He has no fear about going one-on-one with his players, even in a league like Uruguay, which I can tell you is extremely physical, and the defenders don't have much patience for teenagers who want to make them look stupid. You're liable to get a flying boot in the stomach, at best. But he doesn't seem fazed by it. So obviously, he's a bet for the future. I think at United, I can't imagine anyone thinks he's going to be walking into the first team this season or possibly even next season. He's going to be one to watch. I think you guys have under 23s, right? That's level down from the first team. Yeah. So he's going to be one to watch there in the under 23s or possibly on loan somewhere. I think Peñarol would have loved to be able to keep him on loan until the end of 2020 at least, to see how the Libertadores campaign panned out. Unfortunately for them, that didn't happen. But from what I've seen, he's a slight lad. Unlike Ronaldo, he doesn't have the advantage of kind of that big build, which obviously over the years got filled out. He's a diminutive kind of guy. That's going to be something he'll have to work on in a physical league like England. But there's definite potential there. Like the sky's the limit, I think, if he can get his head down, and as well as the dribbling, this explosive attacking play, kind of work on being part of a team and really becoming an asset.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds really exciting. I mean, I think what United have needed for a long time is a proper right winger who can really take on the man, who can really be direct, because we have a lot of players who like to cut in and maybe take shots, or maybe or aren't even right wingers. We've seen Juan Mata play there, obviously, in the cup recently, and it's just a case of, I've always wanted to see. We've not had a proper winger since maybe Nani. And the last one we signed after that was Antonio Valencia, and he ended up being a right back. So seeing you guys tell me that these two players are sort of attacking and more natural wingers who want to get at a man, get to the byline, maybe cross the ball, maybe take on a man and have a shot, is really exciting. And it's sort of the reason United fans were a bit more excited towards a signing like a Jadon Sancho. And I think that's maybe why we're not as excited about these two signings. Jerry, I'll ask you, because obviously we were chatting before this, and you said maybe Jadon Sancho might have been a wiser move than this transfer. Do you think a player like Sancho, with the experience he's had already playing in Germany now for a couple of years, him coming back to England maybe would have been a smarter move than maybe taking a gamble on a Diallo who's going to come straight into England and be in a brand new situation? Do you think that transition will be okay for him?
Well, we said on off air, I saw a report that said that Jadon Sancho was rumored to be $250 million to come to Manchester United. That was the asking price from Borussia Dortmund. Now, I don't know if that's true, it's false, but let's just assume that $250 million was the asking price. That's insane. Me personally, I would never spend that money on a player. Let's look at PSG with Neymar. The ability to sell him now is so hard because of the financial implications of the pandemic. So all of a sudden, you're forced to keep a guy like Neymar, and yeah, okay, he has the talent and he's one of the best in the world. Absolutely, probably, maybe top 10 player. But look what the baggage he brings with the team now, and you're not able to sell him. And that could be a situation down the road with Sancho and maybe it doesn't pan out. And then how do you sell a player that you bought for 250 million? Now, he does have the experience. He is 2 years older than Diallo, and he has played in the Bundesliga, has that Champions League experience. But at the same time, you're only spending 30 million, which is around 220 million, much less than what you would have paid for Sancho. So, yeah, there are a lot of question marks with Diallo. You don't know what the future can hold. You don't know if he'll get that size, or maybe the size won't matter, and he proves that his ability to play at such a high level is his advantage, and he's able to be tactically smart, intelligent with the game, and read the game very well. That will be his benefit. So there are many ways to look at this with Diallo and how he develops. But with Sancho, yeah, you do know what you're getting. You know the type of player he is, but I just don't believe that getting a player that much money is a smart move. Not buying the most expensive player is not always the best solution, I would say. Look at Harry Maguire. He has been so inconsistent with Manchester United. He's so up and down, and now the 80 million price tag, people are saying, well, why do we spend this much money for a defender? And being a Lazio fan, you look at Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, you look at Luis Alberto, you look at Ciro Immobile, and all three players combined didn't even cost more than 40 million. And look what they're producing for a club such as Lazio now. So I always believe that you don't always spend the whole bank on a player, because it's not always the solution. I know a lot of United fans want Sancho. They think that he's the guy to come in, but when you're spending that much money, you really have to reconsider and say, is it worth just putting all our eggs in one basket for one player, or do we reconsider and say that maybe there are three players we can buy for that value that can really benefit our team in so many different areas? So that's how I view it personally.
I think you have a point there in terms of maybe you don't have to buy the most expensive player. I think a lot of United fans would have said, we don't have to spend 120 million on Jadon Sancho as long as we use that money effectively and spread it around and maybe buy two players that will work well for the system. I don't mind what we've done at the minute. I think it might just be a case of the two very unknown players. I think maybe if we had one, maybe that's a little bit of a level above, and then maybe a sort of unknown player, maybe that would have eased our minds a little bit. Before I go back to Dan, I'm just going to stop everyone at this very minute. I'm seeing 55 of you watching right now. I want 55 likes, so make sure you hit that like button, because so far I'm enjoying this. I don't know about you guys. Let's get into some of the comments before we move forward. Here he is, the main man from Johannesburg. How are you doing? They've got everything to become stars, says Stephen. Well, so clearly Stephen knows more than I do, because I haven't seen any of these two. I love Manchester United taking a gamble with young players. Yep, I have to agree. I love this kind of signing, genuinely. Jamie says the same. I like these unknown signings like we did with Martial. Martial, I feel, is a little bit different because he did have a bit of a background to him. He did have a bit more football under his belt. And he wasn't actually lighting up the world in France before he came to United. But definitely, I do. We've got a viewer. Show the comment. It's not going to let me. There it is. Obed from Ghana. Hello, Obed. I didn't realize we had viewers from Ghana. Brilliant. Jamie's in again. Pellistri is South American. They're tough. Yeah, they are. I'm sure he won't mind a few tough challenges. Yep, fair enough. Agreed, but that's what we had been doing since the Glazers took over, spreading it around for second, third, fourth choices. There's a point. That's a point. We maybe haven't utilized the money as well as we could have, but if these two signings turn out to be as good as we think they might, who's to say that we that we haven't made the right choice there. So we'll go back to Dan then about Pellistri. Again, there's a difference between Diallo coming in from Italy and coming to the European leagues because he's already played in Europe. That's a different kind of setting. Obviously, now it's different for a South American to come from that league into Europe. The transition is going to be a lot difficult. I know there's a certain Argentina international who did all right coming from there to Europe, but how easy do you think Pellistri will find the transition?
It's going to be difficult, obviously, more for his age than anything. He's only just coming up to his 19th birthday. I think he turns 19 in December. So he's a teenager moving across the world, completely different culture, different language. It's going to be a challenge. But I'd say more generally, how I see the transfer, obviously you can't possibly compare Pellistri to someone like Sancho, but I'd say, looking at this transfer overall, it was kind of very opportunistic from United, if you get what I mean, because up to a couple of days ago, it looked like Lyon from France were destined to get Pellistri. They filed a bid worth about $7-8 million under his release clause. Peñarol didn't really have any choice but to accept, even though they didn't want to sell because Uruguayan football, South American football at the moment is in huge crisis. You talk about crisis in the European leagues, and it's 10 times worse over here from what coronavirus has done, and kind of those 6 months without football. It's only just getting back to normal now. So he looked set to go to Lyon, and I think United, took a closer look. They saw that if they put a couple $1 million more, $10 million, they could have this kid, and $10 million, I think for a club like United, it's almost pocket change, right? So they stole in, they took him, and it's difficult for United to lose in this situation because he plays well, he gets a run in the first team, and everyone's happy. If not, they might sell him on, they might lose a couple of million, which won't hurt them at all. But probably the flip side would be, if he went to Lyon, you're talking about a guy, if he got a run in the first team in 2 years, he could be a star in League One, and then what you're talking 50-60 million all of a sudden to make the signing. So from that sense, I think it's difficult for United to kind of come out badly from this transfer. It was opportunistic, it was intelligent, I think, from their point of view, and that's up to Pellistri. As I said, he's got the talent, he's got the potential, and it's going to be down on him how he adapts and kind of makes a go of it in English football.
Obviously, he's got age on his side, as does Diallo. I mean, both of them are so young. As you said, it's hard for United to lose in this situation. I think it's really smart buying these kind of players, buying this age group of players. You can't go wrong. They're young players. They want to prove themselves, which is probably why they're making the move in the first place, especially in the case of Pellistri, because as good as you might be in South American leagues for Uruguay, you will want to move to the bigger leagues and show your skills. So definitely there is a case of those two having a point to prove, and I think the transition, it'll help them deal with it if they're really motivated. And I think there's a chance we could see both in the first team. Now, getting into that, Obed's asked the question already, are they going to be first players in the Man United team? I think he's trying to get towards, are they going to be first team players? Jerry, I'll go to you. How likely do you think Diallo is going to be a first team player for United? And if so, what kind of space in the squad do you think he takes?
Well, I want to touch on something you guys were talking about, and I feel that it's like an opposite thing to this question first, but I feel that with signing these two type of players, this could be a new direction for Manchester. The fact that they've always been known to buy the biggest players, the marquee players, spending the cash, and yeah, they spent money on what's it called, like on players in the past, like X amount, but this can be a direction where they're going to move towards the youth and depend on younger players to develop around, and maybe a new direction with this club. It could be a sign up for things to come, but maybe something that fans should really take into consideration instead of always having to buy those those flashy players and trying to look for those small marquee players where they turn out to be even better than what you think. So I think he'll take over Daniel James' spot maybe within a season or two on the right side. That's his preferred role. He can play as an attacking midfielder. Maybe he comes as a bench player for Bruno Fernandes. He can play on the left. So I feel that you got an attacking player up front that gives you the ability to be more attack minded up front and gives him more scoring. So I believe in January he'll probably go on loan. I don't see him being in the first team right now. I think they'll do what like Chelsea did with Sarr, where he went to Porto and just get some experience underneath his belt, make sure he's playing, adjust. And maybe that's something that Diallo can go through is be sent out to a club where he'll be able to get some first team experience, understand at the higher level, and then he can come back to United and maybe in a season or two and get first team playing experience with Manchester United.
Interesting. I find that really interesting that you think that Diallo's the one who will go out on loan, because I was about to go to Dan and go, how likely is it that we see Pellistri go out? Because you know what? The logical thing for me would be keep Diallo and have the raw Pellistri go out on loan. Do you think he'll go out on loan, or do you think he's going to go straight to the first team, Dan?
I think it's going to be extremely difficult for him to go straight into the first team, just more than anything because of the amount of players United have in this spot. I was saying they got Greenwood, right, who plays on the right wing. Yep. You've got you might have Martial as well. If they're going to make space for Cavani, he might have to take up more of a wide role as well. Daniel James, Diallo. I mean, you think completely objectively, he's coming in cold and he's not going to be any higher than fourth or fifth choice for that spot. Where he's played for most of his career, either on the right of a four-man midfield or on the right of a 4-2-3-1. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him go on loan. I think it would be the correct decision for United now. I mean, he's had a lot of big game experience already for Peñarol at the South American level, and I think he needs to keep that up. Now he's kind of used to playing week in, week out. And yeah, it'll be to his benefit to just keep playing. And yeah, definitely, I think he can fit in a club on loan, and he shouldn't be in any rush to break into the United first team. As you said, time's definitely on his side.
I found that really interesting. Both of you have just said that they're going to go out on loan, so are we just going to sign them both and send them back out on loan and have absolutely no wingers to start with again? That's brilliant. There were rumours that Pellistri would go straight into the first team. I don't think that's very true. I think we're going to send him out on loan, and probably Diallo will be the one who comes straight into our first team squad. I've got a few questions in the comments. Some great stuff going on in the comments at the minute. Any questions for the guys on the stream right now? Make sure to get them in the comments. We've got even more of you watching the video now. I just saw about 70 of you. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're subscribing to All for United for more brilliant content like this. So we've got a question here. Has Pellistri played with Uruguay national team in any category? Has he had any caps so far?
Under 16, under 17 level, I think so far.
Okay.
He hasn't quite managed to get up to under 20, mostly because of this interruption we've had. I think if the fixtures were going on as normal this year, he definitely would have played a role. And no call-ups for the senior side yet either, which possibly has something to do with this transfer kind of distraction. Perhaps the Uruguay coach Tabárez preferred to just give him some time to sort his head out, focus on Peñarol, focus on his future, rather than saddle him with a national team call-up as well. But if he carries on as he has done, it shouldn't be long before he's in the senior team.
Interesting. Okay, what else have we got in the comments then? Loads of stuff going on, loads of discussions happening at the minute. There's stuff about Cavani. We're not discussing Cavani or anyone else at the minute. We're talking about these two signings. There'll be another show either tomorrow or day after. I don't know when we've planned it, but there will be a show talking about Alex Telles, Cavani, and how they fit into the team. We're talking about Pellistri We've got Tyrone here who says, I'm not against young players coming in, but we need to be like Leipzig and Dortmund and buy the best youngsters. Well, do you not think that's what we've done right now? Both Jerry and Dan have said that these two are very highly rated players. We'll ignore the fact that they've both said they're going out on loan, because that's a bit worrying. Zane says, hopefully we see more signings where United scouts are trusted more rather than just big names for the sake of it, with no idea of a player fitting the team. Yeah, which is what Jerry pointed out so well. Another one from Tyrone. Jadon Sancho is never joining Manchester United. People forget that Cristiano Ronaldo was unknown when he joined us, but players like Sancho need to be spotted by United scouts sooner, which is probably what we've done with Pellistri, if we're right in thinking that he was meant to go to Lyon. Definitely, loads of comments coming in. There's a shout about where is it? Let me find the comment. I can't find the comment, but I've seen something about the work permit for Diallo. Jerry, talk me through it. Why are we only getting him in January?
That is a very good question. Something that I actually saw and kind of puzzled me. I would love. I don't want to give you any false answers, because maybe that he's with the Primavera team until the end of January. That could be a possibility where he's already started with the youth squad, and maybe the season they need him until January. Maybe that they have agreed that he can leave the club in January. That's how they set the deal off. It's a very good point, because when I looked at the structure of his deal, it actually confused me as to why he was leaving in January. But it could just mean that the club still needs him for half the season, given the consideration. Maybe they're short players, or maybe just Manchester United's willing to decide the fact that they're okay taking him in January. He stays with the youth squad. He still develops. They use him later on in a couple of months, and then they part ways. That's a good question that I don't even have the answer to. But at least he's still playing, and he's still gaining experience and gaining playing time. I think it would have been worse had he not even been playing till January. So I guess you can look at it like that way too, right?
Yeah, fair point. I've got a brilliant question in right now, and I'm gonna turn it into a little bit of a debate here. I've got a question from Reese. Out of both players, which one do you feel is best suited for the right wing right now? So I'm going to turn it into a little bit, because of course they're both coming into the same squad. They're both going to fight for the same place. So Jerry, I'm going to ask you first. Why do you think? Oh, let's see if you can try and make a case, because literally no one knows anything about Diallo because he's not played that many games. But based on what you know, why do you think he'd be best suited for our right wing?
I feel you got someone who is willing to prove himself, hasn't really gained any experience in the top flight. He's only played 3 games, and in his first game he played against Udinese and he scored, which he became the youngest, I believe, at the age of 17 to score in the top flight. So he's played against Parma, he's played against Juventus, and in the 30 minutes that he's played, he's shown good signs of potential that he can play in the top flight now. So yes, you don't want to gamble on a very small sample size of 30 minutes being played, but if a player is able to score in his first game in very limited time, limited action, imagine what he can do if he's given the opportunity to prove himself and showcase what he has. He's quick. He can play, like I said, left-footed, right-footed. He can play. He's very versatile. So he gives Solskjaer a lot of different options, and that's something that maybe can help him throughout the season. So he gives him some depth. But overall, he's young. Like, this is a guy who's hungry, who, like I just said, like he just wants to prove himself and wants to be in the top flight. So this can really work out for Manchester United, and maybe spotting a guy like that comment earlier said, like the recruitment is doing their job, like the scouts are doing their job. Maybe they spotted something in Diallo that other teams haven't noticed, and this could be maybe a Jadon Sancho type signing where you picked up Diallo 2 years earlier, and he could maybe have cost him 120 million, say in 2 years from Atalanta, and you got him for 30 million, and he is the real deal. And now is the time to play him. He gives you that attacking up front that Manchester United fans have been waiting for and missing.
Okay, fair play. Dan, over to you now. Why is Pellistri a good shout for the right wing?
Pellistri is a good shout because, unlike Diallo, I must admit, I haven't had the privilege of seeing him strut his stuff. But unlike Diallo, Pellistri has played top-class football. He's coming up to his second full season as a Peñarol starter. He's played continental competitions. He's played championship deciders. He's been fantastic for Peñarol throughout the year. I think I saw his stats. He's contributed 2 goals and 10 assists in just 14 games this year. So he's a guy you can see is growing with every game. He's feeling more and more comfortable. He's utterly fearless on the right wing when it comes to taking the ball and getting past his man. He's great at linking up with his teammates. He's just got a whole load of potential, and if he's put in the right setting, if you surround him with guys who are going to get him the ball and who are going to give him an outlet in the box, he's going to make things happen. I think he's going to benefit as well with the signing of Cavani. He's going to have another Uruguayan there in the dressing room, which is going to make the adaptation so much easier. Someone to talk to, someone to share some mates, the Uruguayan drink of choice. And yeah, as I say, it's going to be very hard for him. He's a very young kid going into unfamiliar surroundings. But if it's just about what he's got at his feet, his dribbling talent, his passing talent, his speed, it's all there.
Fantastic. Well, I personally don't know which one I'm going to choose, so I'll leave it to the comments. Comments, let me know who you're going to pick. Who do you think should start on the right wing? Are we going to go for Pellistri, or is it going to be Diallo? Well, I think more than likely it's going to be Pellistri because Diallo's only coming in January, but let's assume both are coming in at the same time. Who would you pick? Let us know in the comments. Just before we wrap up, we'll go through all the comments now because this discussion is fantastic. There's loads of you here. Make sure you're liking the video because I've had a great time talking to these two. Let's have a look at some comments then. Jeffrey's throwing out a big shout. Give Traore 2 more years and he'll be a better player than Sancho. Whew. That's a brave man. It's a brave man. Ama Traore doesn't seem to have very good decision making from the footage I have seen. What do you say, Jerry?
I feel like he's really risk taking. He'll. I guess that comes with age, right? He's only 17 years old, 18 years old. So I think that comes with more experience, more time when you play. So in time, I think the decision making will come, but at least you have someone who's willing to take risk, who's willing to make decisions. And if he's really risk taking, I think as time goes by, he'll understand where his flaws are and adjust. Guys like Cristiano Ronaldo, who I know I'm going off topic here, where I've been reading his biography, and when he was like at a young age, he was like a similar type of player who was very energetic, he had a lot of skill, speed, and his game at times, his decision making wasn't probably always the best, and he had the raw material. But as time went by, he became a better player. He understood all the components of the game, and I know Traore is no Diallo is no Ronaldo, but and it's probably not a fair comparison. But a guy like Diallo, as time goes by, I think that he'll develop those components, the necessary background in order to allow him to become a better player and fix his decision making.
Apologies if we get some kind of stream. I'm just hoping we haven't. How we've organized it. I'm gonna say Thank you to all the comments for coming in. Make sure you do hit subscribe to get involved in the future shows. It's been absolutely fantastic having Jerry and Dan. Lads, thank you so much for having a chat with us.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Make sure everyone in the comments to like the video. Make sure to go and follow Dan. Make sure to go and follow Jerry. Dan's article on Pellistri is out already, so make sure to go have a look. And Jerry obviously is doing fantastic stuff with Italian football. Make sure to go check him out. All the Twitters, all the social medias, everything. And before you leave this video, make sure to like it because it's free of charge. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to share the video once you're done, because sharing is caring in this very, very troubling time in the pandemic. And of course, based on today, I am fully going out and saying we did not need Jadon Sancho. These two are better than Jadon Sancho. And we've got the 2 future Ballon d'Or winners. Am I right? No? Okay, then.
Absolutely.
Right. On that count, nice one for joining us. And until next time, see you in a bit, guys.